right, we are back on the record in Duchow Cross versus Aurora Advocate. Parties are the same, appearances are the same, and I believe, Attorney Olson, we were in the middle of your direct examination of Mr. Duchow Cross.
Correct.
All right. Whenever you're ready, sir.
After you filed for the conflict resolution, what was the result of that?
I received an email from Shireen Anderson that said that they were upholding the level 3.
Is this that notice? And we're looking at C14, which is ERD 123.
Yes.
Okay, we offer C14.
No objection.
It's been offered. Hearing no objection, I will admit it. This will be the complainant's exhibit number 8, ERD 123 is the Bates number, and description I put is result of conflict resolution.
And you had testified that Mr. Stephen Nelson was your direct boss. Could you describe the reporting structure?
Before I was terminated, each of the forensic sites were site specific, meaning that in our cases and in most cases, the forensic team and coordinator group would have a direct manager. So in our case, Steve Nelson was my manager that covered our forensic program for both Burlington and Lakeland hospitals. At that point, Shireen Anderson was our system-wide coordinator and kind of the, I guess, the line between system as well as sites. And we were making moves towards going to a system-wide forensic team. So instead of being under each of us having our each individual sites, then that we were working towards going under the system-wide and having our own cost center, which was in process prior to. And at that point, the word had come down that Shireen had explained that as they were moving the process, I believe she had said that the coordinators would all need to reapply for their positions because the coordinating positions would no longer be, and that instead of coordinators, they would be managers. But that was well before my level 3 discipline as well as my termination that was already in.
That was in the works, but was it completed by the time you were terminated?
No, they had completed it. I believe it was a few months later, if I understand correctly.
Did you file a formal complaint with the state regarding the retaliation you were experiencing?
I did.
This is Exhibit C16. This is ERD 128. Through ERD 133. Is this a copy of your complaint?
Yes.
Is it your understanding this was received by the department on April 24, 2023?
Objection, calls for speculation, lack of foundation. I don't know how Ms. Duchow Cross would have personal knowledge as to when a complaint was received by the department. I mean, it's got a stamp on it. It speaks for itself.
I can reword it.
Okay.
Did you receive this document file stamp by the DWD indicating it was received by the DWD on April 24, 2023?
Yes.
Okay, we offer C16.
It's already
Very
part
good.
of the ERD file.
It is part of the ERD file. It's already in there. I don't know what all you're going to ask her about it. I'll go ahead and admit it, but I'll also take administrative notice that the complaint is part of the file. There's merely allegations, nothing that's proven. It's just what it is.
Right.
Okay, so it's been marked, offered, objections been noted by Attorney Kaiser. I have admitted it.
And was your employment terminated?
It was
When was it terminated?
May 10th, I believe, or May 11th.
Okay, take a look at that. This is C17, it's ERD 135 through 136. Did you receive this termination letter?
I did.
And it shows the date of May 11, 2023. Is that when you received it?
Correct.
Who provided it to you?
I was called to a meeting in Stephen Alston's office, and Shireen Anderson, Don Grayson, and Steve were present. Shireen is the one that presented me with that.
All right. And this identifies the reason for your termination. Were you given any other reason for your termination?
No.
We offer C17.
No objection.
Okay, that's going to be marked as complainant's exhibit number 10. It's ERD 135 through 136. It's the termination letter. It's been marked, offered, and admitted, hearing no objection.
Now looking at complainants 5, which is ERD 016. Through ERD 018. Can you identify these documents?
Yes.
What are they?
They are text communications when I reached out to Shireen Anderson in regards to the suspect in the case of the DA and the detective asking me to go off site and then to testify to similarities.
And this preceded when you actually did the examination?
That's correct.
So on 018, well, first of all, let me have you identify who is in the dark background and with the white letters and who has the dark text.
Mine is the blue with the white letters, and Shireen's is the one without the blue in the dark text.
Okay, and in these communications, are you disclosing to Ms. Anderson that this is all done pursuant to a warrant?
I believe up in the text, I believe we would have to go. When I received that information or the questions from the DA as well as the officer, as I testified before, that I advised that I never had that before, that I needed to ask permission. So I believe I also sent Shereen an email as well. I believe that's in there, but I would have to just make sure. But I did reach out to her via text. Oh yeah, good morning. I just sent an email to you regarding a request. And originally they wanted me to go off site to the jail to take those. And I didn't think I could do that, but I told them that I would ask. And then it progressed from there.
And did you explain the circumstances when you met with Ms. Anderson at the time that you received the level 3 discipline?
I did.
And Mr. Nelson was present for that?
Yes.
And he heard your explanation?
Yes.
Objection, foundation, or calls for speculation. I don't know how Ms. Duchow Cross would know what some other person may or may not have heard.
I'm going to sustain.
Was Mr. Nelson present when you explained your use of the camera and the chain of custody involved there?
Yes. And he also was present for the original meeting when I had reiterated that to Shireen at one of the very first meetings as well.
Okay. We offer C5.
That would be complainant's exhibit number 11, ERD 016 through 018. Those are the text messages between the complainant and Shireen Anderson. Attorney Kaiser,
No objection.
hearing no objections, they will be admitted. They have been marked and offered.
That completes the complainant's direct examination.
Okay. You ready to proceed, Attorney Kaiser?
Yes, I am.
All right. Mr. Olson, if you could stop sharing. Unless it's something that Attorney Kaiser can pull up whatever he'd like. There we go.
Thank you. Ms. Duchow Cross, in your view, you were a good healthcare provider at Aurora.
Absolutely.
The healthcare services you provided met the standard for quality care.
Yes.
You never did anything that posed a potential risk to public health or safety.
Object to the form of the question.
Well, it's cross. He can lead. He could say, "Did you ever?" But it's cross. So I'm gonna overrule that objection. You may answer.
That has always been my plan, to make sure that my patients are always safe, or any patients that we saw at Aurora Healthcare. When I started to,
I'm going to interrupt. You're not answering my question. My question was, you never did anything that posed a potential risk to public health or safety.
I
No.
did work extreme hours, yes.
That wasn't my question. My question was, you never did anything that posed a potential risk to public health or safety.
No, object to the form of the question.
Now I'm gonna sustain that objection.
Tell us every time that you did something that posed a potential risk to public health or safety while you were employed by Aurora.
Working excessive hours with very little sleep. And knowing that forensic exams are not only medical exams, but they're forensic as well. When somebody is working in environments where you don't have the sleep, you have dexterity issues, you've got lack of detail, you know.
Tell us a
something.
specific, without giving any PHI, tell us a specific patient that you put at risk to their health or safety.
I'm going to object that
anything.
he interrupted the witness's response.
Well, he could have objected and saying she's being non-responsive, and I would have sustained that objection. So can you answer his question and name a particular patient or somebody that you posed a risk to their health and safety?
I am not aware of any specific patient. The fact is
Thank you.
I don't know.
Okay. You never reported yourself to the Wisconsin Department of Safety and Professional Services Nursing Board, telling them that you had done something to put a patient's health or safety at risk, correct?
I did not.
You never reported something like that to any other governmental agency, correct?
Well, I filed a complaint.
You mean the retaliation complaint in this case?
Yes,
Yeah. You never reported to anyone in management at Aurora that you did something to a specific patient that put their health or safety at risk, correct?
I shared my concerns that I was worried about the health and safety.
You're not answering the question. I said a specific patient. There was never a time where you said, hey, I just saw this patient. I think I messed up in some way that's going to impact their health or safety, correct?
I had that conversation with Tony Quintanilla once that I recall off the top of my head that I was concerned because I was very tired during a case.
When was that?
I don't know the exact date.
While you were working at Aurora, you also had a second job, a part-time job outside of Aurora, correct?
Correct.
You worked as a psych nurse?
I was a mental health psych practitioner, nurse practitioner.
And you worked that second outside job every Tuesday, correct?
Usually there were days where I remember on one occasion I had to move my Tuesday office hours to a Thursday because I had to do expert testimony for a case that I had done in Aurora. But my original day was set for Tuesdays.
And when you were working for your other employer every Tuesday, that was for a full day, at least an 8-hour day.
Scheduled, I had emergency appointments in the morning and then I would see patients and then I would have emergency appointments set aside in the afternoon.
So that's a full day.
Okay.
Regardless of whatever number of hours you were working for Aurora, you never quit that second job, correct?
Correct.
I wanted to ask you about complainants exhibit 6, which for purposes of the hearing is now complainants exhibit 4. Do you remember testifying about this earlier during your direct examination?
Did we make it bigger? I can't see it.
Yes.
Oh. Thanks.
I'll put it up on mine.
I can make it bigger too. If that would
Oh.
help.
Here it is.
Okay. And I'm sorry, what was your question?
I hadn't asked it yet. You
Okay.
remember testifying about this during your direct examination?
Yes.
You didn't send this email to Shireen Anderson, correct?
No, I sent it to my leaders.
You don't know whether Shireen Anderson ever even saw this email or its attachments, correct?
I don't know.
All right. Turning to the attachment to your email, where you talked about the hours you were working and you say, I cannot continue to physically sustain. You don't say anything about patient health or safety in your email or this attachment, correct?
I did not state those words, no, in this email.
You also don't say anything in here about the number of hours you were working in your second job outside of Aurora, correct?
No, those did not include my spectrum hours.
Prior to being issued the level 3 corrective action on March 10th, 2023, you had several meetings with Shireen Anderson and others, including members of HR, team member relations, in which they asked you questions about your timekeeping and pay practices.
Correct?
When you received the corrective action, Ms. Anderson told you that you were being issued the corrective action for failing to follow pay practices and accurate record time, along with failing to follow charting practices and stay within the scope of your practice. Is that correct?
From what I think I heard you said, yes.
Do you agree with the proposition that you are responsible for accurately reporting your time?
I did report my time accurately.
Do you agree with the proposition that you are not allowed to be paid for doing two jobs at the same time, also known as double dipping?
I did not double dip.
You would agree that that would be contrary to policy, unethical to double dip?
I did not double dip that I'm aware of. And can I clarify something?
That's all right. No, it's okay.
But
Perhaps
it's
in your rebuttal, but I'm ready to move on to the next topic. Let me show you, this is Respondent's Exhibit 5, beginning at ERD 315 through ERD 318. Do you recognize this string of emails? I'll go to the beginning. The first one starts on ERD 316 at the bottom, I think. Starting here, an email from you on March 14th.
Probably going to have to make that a little bit bigger for her.
Sure, sorry. I have about 7 other windows up on my computer screens. Do you recognize this, Ms. Duchow Cross?
I don't mean to be rude, but even though you tried to make it bigger, I cannot see that, so I'm looking at my attorney screens. I just want to make sure.
Okay.
We're on one.
Yeah. Please take your time. Let me know after you've had an opportunity to review it. And you can look at the whole string if you want to, but I'm going to start at the beginning, I suppose.
Okay. Is that the one? Are you referencing the one that an email that I sent to Anna Helbig?
Yeah, that's where I'm going to start.
314. Okay, we have it.
All right. So you sent this email to Anna Helbig on March 14th. So that'd be the 4 days after you received the corrective action.
Yes.
Who is Anna Helbig? HR
That's me.
person?
Oh, sorry. Yes. She was the site-specific person at Burlington and Lakeland when I had reached out to my manager, Steve Nelson, because I had never been in trouble before and I didn't know what steps additional we had, and he had advised me to reach out to Anna Helbig, which was the Aurora Burlington HR person.
Okay. Then in this email you sent to Ms. Helbig on March 14th, you're essentially outlining your objections to the level 3 corrective action, correct?
Correct.
Anywhere in your email objecting to the corrective action, do you say anything about the number of hours you were working?
Scroll down. I don't believe I did. We're looking. I don't believe that I did, but I would just like to verify. No.
You also did not mention anything about patient health or safety, correct?
To Anna Helbig? No. To my managers? Yes.
By the time you sent this email, you had already retained Attorney Olson.
I don't recall the date that I retained him.
Well, in a conversation that you recorded between you and Steve Nelson on March 10th, 2023, the same day you received the level 3 corrective action, you told Mr. Nelson that you had been speaking to a lawyer and he told you, Kathy, at the end of the day, Wisconsin is an at-will state. Does that refresh your memory as to when you retained an attorney?
Yes, but at that time I had, if I remember correctly, there was a couple of attorneys that I was looking into.
Okay, so you had already been talking to an attorney as of March 2023.
That's fair.
All right, so then Peg Heinen responds to you the next day, or the same day, March 14th, with some additional information, and she provides you information on the conflict resolution process. Is that correct?
On March 14th?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And then it was at that point that you sent in that formal request for conflict resolution, the document that you had talked about or testified about during your direct examination, and we can pull it up again too.
That's fine. That is, where she had attached the form and I was not given the 10 days. According to the policy, I believe it said that I needed to have my form back to her by 4:00 on a Friday on 3/17.
Okay, so she gives you the form, and this is complainants exhibit 13, but which is now for the purpose of the hearing, complainants exhibit 6. So after Ms. Heinen responded to you, this is the request for conflict resolution form that you completed. And a lot of it looks to be copy and pasted from the email that you had originally sent Ms. Helbig. Is that right?
I can't see it. I'm sorry. We're looking. 1 second, okay?
Sorry, it's complainants exhibit 13 on the witness and exhibit list.
We saw it. And I'm sorry, your question?
All right, so I just wanted to make sure I had the timing right. So after you emailed Ms. Helbig and Ms. Heinen responds, that's when you filled out this form, the request for conflict resolution form, correct?
Correct.
All right, a couple days later, you submit this then, correct?
It appears to, based on the date.
Once again, in this document, you did not mention anything about the number of hours you were working, correct?
In this document, no.
You also didn't mention anything about patient health or safety.
In this document, no.
Through the conflict resolution process, there were a few steps, correct?
Correct.
The first step was the review by Shireen Anderson, Dawn Greason, and Peg Hyman.
Correct.
And that, I think you already testified about the letter, was complainant's exhibit 14. And this was the outcome letter for the first level of the conflict resolution process.
Just waiting for it to come up here. That was after step 1 of the conflict resolution.
Okay. And then I just wanted to get the other steps in as well. Says respondents exhibit 10, starting at ERD 332. This is a letter dated April 11th, 2023 that you received. Correct?
We're trying to get it up.
Oh, sorry.
No worries. April 11th. Okay. April 11th, we have that.
And this is the outcome level for the outcome letter for the second level of your conflict resolution appeal, correct?
Yes, I was only able to attend to speak in conflict level 1.
Okay, so the second level or the second step in the conflict resolution process, well, the outcome was that the corrective action was upheld by Mark Huber, System Vice President, Community Health, and Adrienne Schultz, Chief Nursing Officer, Vice President, Administration.
Object, no foundation.
Is this the outcome letter that you?
Can you clean that up a little bit?
Sure. Is this the outcome letter you received for the second step in the conflict resolution process, Ms. Duchow Cross?
Yes.
Let's go to the next step then. This is Respondents Exhibit 11. This is ERD 334. Ms. Duchow Cross, this is the outcome letter for the third and final step of the conflict resolution process. Is that correct?
From my understanding, yes.
And you received this letter on April 26, 2023?
April 26, 23, yes.
And the final outcome was that the corrective action level 3 was upheld.
According to this, yes.
All right, let's talk about your audio recordings. So you secretly recorded multiple conversations with your leaders and team member relations, correct?
I did.
You didn't tell them that you were recording them.
I did not.
You did not obtain their consent.
Objection, I think that's included in the definition secret, so it's duplicitous. Object.
I'm gonna allow it.
Can you repeat?
You did not obtain their consent.
I did not.
After your deposition, you were produced 17 recordings totaling nearly 7 hours. Do you have any more that you didn't produce?
Not that I'm aware of.
Since taking those recordings, you've re-listened to them?
I did review them over the weekend.
There's not a single audio recording in the bunch that you've produced where you report or complain about anything involving the number of hours you are working, causing you to put a patient's health or safety at risk, correct?
Using those specific words? Correct. I did not use the specific words you just stated.
Well, when did you use words different than the specific words I used to complain about something having to do with patient health or safety?
Well, when I talked to my leaders numerous times, at least 5 to 6 times, and
None of those are in I'm talking about the recordings though.
Oh,
None of this is in the recordings, correct?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
So
And
you're
other than that email that we looked at with the attachment talking about the number of hours you were working, you don't have anything in writing involving a report or a complaint to management involving patient health or safety, correct?
the only thing I put in writing was the email that I sent to them.
The email with the attachment about the number of hours.
Correct.
All right, now, Judge, there are a few of the audio recordings that I would like to get into evidence, and I know we don't want to take up all this time during hearing to listen to the entirety of them. And I was just planning on playing like maybe a minute of the ones
would
I
be
wanted
fine.
to get in.
That would be fine. Can we clean up the exhibits that you have put up on the screen? Do you want to put
Yeah,
any of those
sorry.
in? No, that's okay. You were on a
Yeah.
roll. I don't like to interrupt, but before I start a second page for my exhibit log here, I have 3 exhibits thus far, okay? So I'm marking respondent exhibit 1 would be ERD 315 through 318, and that's the email thread regarding the corrective actions. I've marked it. Are you offering it?
Yes.
Any objections, Attorney Olson?
No.
Hearing no objections, that will be admitted. Respondent exhibit 2 is the ERD 332. That is the result of conflict resolution step 1. That's been marked. You've offered it. Objections, Attorney Olson?
No.
Hearing no objection, that's admitted.
I'm sorry, Judge. I
Respondent,
think that one was a conflict resolution step 2. Complainant had already offered.
Complainant. Yeah, that's step 2. I'm sorry. I was looking up above. Just to let you know, for complainant's exhibit number 8, I added step 1 behind conflict resolution because it wasn't until just now that I realized there were 3 steps. Okay, so complainant has step 1, respondent has step 2. That's going to be your exhibit number 2. Respondent exhibit number 3 is ERD 334, and that's the result of conflict resolution step 3. Any objections, Attorney Olson?
No.
Hearing no objection, that is admitted. All right, now we're moving on to page 3 of my log. And which exhibit are you going to play for us?
Sorry to interrupt. The complainant, I don't know if you can do this the way you want, but the complainant is prepared to identify the voices on the recordings, if that's helpful, by title on the exhibits.
Okay. Yeah, maybe if we could do it that way, that'd be fine. I think I would just like to get the identities of who is in the meeting, the date of the meeting, and I guess the general subject of the meeting might be helpful for the judge to know.
Yeah, that's just, I need some foundational information. So the more you can give me, the better.
Sure.
All
So
right.
yeah, um,
So which
so
one are you going to play?
Kate,
The first one I'd like to get into evidence is Respondents Exhibit 13 entitled Meeting First.
Okay.
okay, meeting first is, I can give you a date, and if you want to stipulate to it, it's January 13, 2023. Or if you want to take her testimony on it, that's fine as well.
No.
I now
And
have
she
to
can tell you
correlate
who-
this because remember, I don't have any of these up on my computer. They're all in the
Right.
file. So I've got to get into the file now and make sure I've got something that has something close to that title. And I do. It was uploaded as part of the YBox uploads. It's number 1 of 7, and it's listed as R13, and it states meeting first, and that was uploaded by the respondent on July 5, so it is in the Chris file. Now we can continue. I just got to double check and make sure they're called the same, because if they're not, I need to change the name in the file to what we're calling it today. Okay?
I appreciate that. And yeah, I don't think I've used this many recordings before in a hearing, so appreciate.
Well, this is going to be Respondent's Exhibit number 3, just so you know. And there is no Bates number. Oh, excuse me, Respondent's
4.
Exhibit number 4. There is no Bates number. So I'm going to put not applicable here. And then the description we're going to give it is going to be recording, audio recording. And we'll kind of use the same naming convention, so to speak. So they'll all be audio recording something. And this is going to be, and I'll put it in quotes, meeting first. And then what was the date you said, Attorney Olson? I have January 13, 23. Is that correct?
That's right.
Is that good enough for a description? Do you gentlemen want me to put something else in there for the log?
I think that's good enough for the log.
All right.
Well, I think
all yours.
And I can wait till my turn, but I would suggest that we identify the voices on the recording.
Oh yeah, we're going to do that. But I'm just saying,
Okay.
I have to have just a brief description in the field as to what it is.
Okay.
Yeah. And yeah, I can ask Ms. Duchow Cross about who was at the meetings, and then I might just have like a couple other questions. I think that might be quickest.
Okay.
All right. Ms. Duchow Cross, this audio recording titled Meeting First, that took place on January 13th, 2023. My understanding of the people at this meeting were you, Shireen Anderson, Dawn Greason, Sarah Staley, who's the Human Resources VP, and Steve Nelson. Is that accurate?
Yes, and Tony Quintanilla.
Okay. Do you know his title?
He was in transition, but I believe at that point he was still emergency manager of emergency services for Lakeland, or he might have made that transit. He might have gotten his new title of educator, but I don't recall. I'm sorry exactly.
It's okay. Is that the whole cast of characters at that meeting?
I believe so. I can't remember if Jackie Cates was also present. I don't remember that.
Generally, the purpose of that meeting was the investigation of the timekeeping and pay practices.
that is ended up what was happening. My understanding is that we would be discussing the schedule, and then there was also a rollout of some new pay structures that came through that Shereen was going to speak to.
Okay. So at that point in time, did you know that Ms. Anderson was looking into your timekeeping and pay practices at the time of that meeting?
No,
So then why did you record it?
based on the conversation, and with the things as continue to transpire, I was concerned about retaliation, and as things continued, I'm glad I did record them.
Yeah, but you didn't know you were under investigation at that point, according to you. So why record it?
Well, because when I had originally reached out to Dawn Greason, when we had our very first meeting before this one, and I think that was December 16th or 17th, with Tony and with Dawn, and I expressed again concerns. And then I was told that we would have a sane revisit meeting. And then there was some questions about, there was an email that I believe Dawn Greason had sent me that there was a question about the pay structure, this and that. I reached out to Shereen Anderson and connected her and Dawn Greason. I did respond to an email from Dawn Greason just wanting to make sure that she had gotten all of her answers to her questions that she had. And then as well as the fact that I had 2 conversations with Shereen Anderson that evening, and the comment was made to me that left me unsettled, of which I included in the email to Dawn Greason. And then I was told to think about if I really fit anymore in my position. And that was concerning. So I followed up with an email to Dawn Greason, and I had said, you know, I shared that with her, and I had asked that, advise her that I was unsettled by that, or I can't remember my exact terms, but that I would prefer to have a meeting sooner than wait.
All right. The next audio recording, Respondents Exhibit 15. That one's titled Conversation with Steve 2.
That's March 10, 2023.
Oh, sorry. I went out of
That's-
order. I missed it. The next one was Respondents Exhibit 14, titled Level 3 Discipline. Sorry about that.
Oh, that's okay. I'll just bump all this down one, and then we'll get to it when we get to it.
And that one is March 10, 2023 as well.
Okay, so this is level 3 discipline.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And the other one is called Conversation with Steve 2. All right, let's just, so we don't lose any of these. Respondents number 4, for the purposes of the hearing log, was audio recording meeting first, and that was on January 13 of 2023. It's been marked offered. Objections?
No objection.
And hearing no objections, it's admitted. Respondents exhibit number 5 is audio recording level 3 discipline. Again, that's on March 10 of 2023. Any objections?
No objection.
Hearing no objection, that will also be admitted, having already been marked. and offered. Okay, then our respondent number 6 is audio recording, and that one is conversation with Steve 2, also on March 10, 2023, been marked offered. Any objections?
No objection.
That one is admitted. Okay, you're on number 7 now, Attorney Kaiser.
Judge, I just want to circle back to get the cast of characters on
Okay.
each of those before I move on. The audio recording, Ms. Duchow titled Level 3 Discipline from March 10th, 2023. That's the meeting at which you received the Level 3 corrective action.
Yes.
The people at that meeting were Shireen Anderson, Dawn Greason, and Steve Nelson.
Me, myself.
Yep. Sorry. Yeah, obviously. And Miss Anderson walked through the corrective action and shared her findings with you.
Yes.
Okay. The next one, the audio recording titled Conversation with Steve 2 from March 10th, 2023. That's just a meeting with just you and Mr. Nelson, correct?
Steve and I were the only ones in the room.
And that was subsequent to the meeting where you had just received the corrective action level 3? Because I know they're the same day. I'm trying to figure out which one came first. I think the corrective action meeting was first, but if you don't know, that's fine.
Well, I can't say for sure, but there was 2 meetings with him that day because while we were discussing it, I don't remember if he had a phone call or something happened, and so I excused myself. And then we continued, but I can't say for sure. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you. All right, Judge, then the next one would be Respondent's Exhibit 16, the audio recording titled Conflict Meeting.
That's March 22, 2023.
And which day in March? I'm sorry.
22.
22. All right. 2023. Okay, that's been marked as respondent exhibit 7. Offered. Any objection?
No objection.
It's admitted.
Ms. Duchow, that was the meeting that occurred after you filed your conflict resolution, request for conflict resolution.
I'm sorry, repeat the title of the one you just said?
The title's Conflict Meeting.
Yes.
Okay. So prior to receiving the letter for the first step of the conflict resolution process, you had that meeting with Shireen Anderson and Dawn Greason.
Correct. And the letter that I received was the result stating that they were upholding the level 3.
Okay, so they met with you prior to you receiving the letter upholding the conflict or the corrective action level 3.
Correct.
Thank you. The next one, Judge, is Respondent's Exhibit 17, titled HIPAA Camera Meeting, Shireen and Peg.
It's March 27, 2023.
All right, that's going to be respondent 8. Audio recording, HIPAA camera meeting, and that occurred on March 27, 2023. Any objections?
No.
It's been marked, offered, and admitted. Hearing no objections.
Ms. Duchow, the people at that meeting were you, Shireen Anderson, and Peg Heinen with team member relations, correct?
That kind of from team member relations was there, yes, too.
And
Yeah.
Shireen.
Yes.
And generally, the purpose of that meeting was to discuss further the issues surrounding the issues with using the law enforcement officer's iPad to take photos.
The purpose of that meeting, I believe in the email, it said a HIPAA concern, and then it stemmed from using the officer's iPad, I believe is what you're asking. I apologize. if
Yeah,
I'm
I just
not-
wanted to know
okay.
generally what you guys talked about at that meeting, so thank
Oh,
you for that. The next one is Respondents Exhibit 18. Titled Sarah Shireen Dawn.
Date on that is March 30, 2023.
Okay, I've got audio recording. Sarah, who were the other names?
Sarah Shireen Dawn.
And that is March 30, 2023. That's going to be Respondent 8. It's
I
been
think it's
marked.
9.
9, you're right. Cut and paste in here. It's 9. It's been marked, offered. Any objection?
No objection.
Hearing no objection, it's admitted. Let's see, what else do we have here? And we already did
I have
the
just
camera,
one,
so that's it.
I have one audio recording left, but on this one titled Sarah Shireen Dawn, Ms. Duchow Cross. The people at that meeting were you, Shireen Anderson, Dawn Greason, and Sarah Staley from Team Member Relations.
yes, I believe there may have been a Mariah. I'm not sure. I believe that's it. I can't remember, but I believe those were the key players there.
Generally, the purpose of that meeting was to discuss you removing yourself from the call calendar.
Well, they had called me to a meeting to inquire about my call time. And I reiterated to them that my position did not require call time and everybody was aware of it prior to.
I mean, your primary role as a coordinator didn't require call time.
Correct.
Okay. It was, you were doing call time in your secondary role, correct?
My secondary role, even though my position did not require it.
Your primary position didn't require it. But up until that point in time, in your secondary role as an FNE, you had been doing call time and were on the call calendar. But then at this point, you had decided to stop taking call in that secondary role, correct?
Well, I think there needs to be some clarification. So the secondary job code was originally attached to my primary position. So that if in fact, well, being a coordinator, I have a case, it would move that over to that second job code. I did not have call requirements.
All right, and then the last audio recording, Judge, is Respondents Exhibit 19. Titled Termination Meeting Aurora Copy.
That is May 11, 2023.
Okay, that's going to be Respondents Exhibit number 10. Audio recording termination meeting, Aurora copy, happened on May 11, 2023. It's been marked, offered. Any objection?
No objection.
Hearing no objection, it will be admitted.
And that's a easy one, I think. That's the recording of the termination meeting, right, Ms. Duchow Cross?
Yes.
And
Yes.
the people at that meeting were you, Shireen Anderson, Dawn Greason, Steve Nelson, and Peg Heinen.
No, Peg was not at that one.
Oh, sorry. So just Shireen Anderson, Dawn Greason, and Steve Nelson.
And myself, yes.
All right. I don't have any further questions.
Okay. That all for this witness, or just for these so that you can then play your recordings? Or did you not want to play them and I'll listen to them later?
I didn't want to play them unless you wanted to do it, Judge. I don't
No.
think we need to play them. I think we've given enough context for them and hopefully given you at least a chronological path to when and where they're from.
Yep. That is fine. They've been marked, received. I will listen to them all. All right. Any other questions for Miss Duchow Cross?
I don't have any.
Attorney Olson, any redirect?
Yes. You took recordings of conversations in addition to the ones that we just went through. Is that correct?
Yes.
The one that's labeled conversation with Steve 1, all the ones that are labeled conversation with Steve, is it just you and Steve
Correct.
Nelson?
Correct.
And is it accurate that conversation with Steve 1, 2, and 3 all were on March 10, 2023?
Is that the date that I have listed? Sorry.
Well, that's the date that you gave me and I gave
Yes.
defense counsel. I don't know if we can stipulate to that. And then you had also recorded conversation with Steve 4. Was that on March 13, 2023?
Yes.
And
I thought you
conversation
told
was
me. Sorry, I thought you told me the 14th, Alan.
14th for Steve 4. Okay, let me
I don't know.
double check my email. Just make sure I may have made a mistake.
It could be my mistake too, so apologies if it is.
Are all those going to be ones you're going to want to bring in?
Yes.
Attorney Olson?
Okay,
Okay, so while you're
I don't
looking
know.
for that, I'm going to start typing.
Okay. Is it your preference to do those as each individual?
Well, it just seems to me if you just asked her questions about all the Steve meetings. Are there a total of 4 of them?
No, there are total,
A lot more.
Steve is listed as conversation with Steve goes through 9.
Okay,
And
are you going to
there's-
are you going to want to admit all of those?
I am.
All right, well then let me just at least put them in the log and then we'll get to them when we
Okay.
get to them. Okay, so
Okay.
just give me a second to figure out where we left off with you.
Okay.
Left off with you at 11, so the first one's going to be 12. Okay, but you can keep figuring out what the dates are and I'll do that in a moment.
Casey, that May 20 email.
Yeah.
I show item number 5, conversation with Steve number 4 was on March 13.
Okay.
All right. Save. Okay. And you said there were 12. Let's see, 13.
or 10 additional.
Okay, you said there are 9 recordings for Steve though, right?
Yes.
Okay. What is the date? So the date I have for number 1, 2, and 3 are March 10, is that correct?
Yes.
March 4 is what date?
Steve 4 is March 13,
Okay. 5.
March 20,
Okay, 6,
March 20.
7.
The next one is actually entitled Conversation with Steve 6 Compliment.
Oh. Okay. Steve 6
Yeah, that
compliment.
makes it a little confusing.
Yeah, okay. Steve 6 compliment. What date is that?
March 22.
Okay, so then do we have a Steve 7?
No. We've got a Steve 8 HIPAA room.
So there's no 7. It just
There's
goes
no-
from 6 to 6
There's-
compliment. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. All right. So number 8 is conversation with Steve 8, and that's HIPAA room.
Yes.
HIPAA. Okay. And what day
That's-
was that?
March 27.
Okay. And then we have a Steve 9.
Conversation with Steve 9, March
Okay.
27.
Is that all of Steve?
There's one entitled Steve Meeting, April 6, 2023.
All right. Hold on. Steve meeting. And that was April 23?
April 6 of 2023.
April 6. Okay.
And I think there may be only one additional. Shireen Directive, ER staff copy.
All right. Hold on. Corrective. ER
Yeah, capital E, capital R, staff copy.
staff copy. And what date was that?
March 24.
2023. Okay.
And that should be all 17 recordings.
All right. Let me go through those. And for all of these, I have marked them. They have been offered. So I'm just going to ask you if you have any objections, Attorney Kaiser. So it's going to be complainant's exhibit number 12 is audio recording conversation with Steve 1, March 10, 2023. Any objection?
No.
Okay. Complainant exhibit number 13 is audio recording conversation with Steve 3, March 10, 2023. Any objection?
No.
Audio recording conversation with Steve 4, that's March 13, 2023. That would be complainant's exhibit number 14. Any objection?
No.
Number 15 for complainant is audio recording conversation with Steve, March 20th, 2023. Any objection?
No.
Okay. Number 16 is audio recording conversation with Steve 6, March 20, 2023. Any objection?
No.
Number 17 is audio recording conversation with Steve 6 compliment, March 22nd, 2023. Any objection?
No.
Okay. Number 18 is audio recording conversation with Steve 8, HIPAA room, that occurred on March 27, 2023. Any objection?
No.
Okay. Number 19 is audio recording conversation with Steve number 9. That's March 27, 2023. Any objection?
No.
All right. A complainant exhibit number 20 is audio recording Steve meeting, April 6, 2023. Any objection?
No.
All right. And the last one I have is complainant exhibit number 21. That is audio recording Shireen Directive ER staff copy that occurred on March 24, 2023. Any objection?
No.
Okay, hearing no objections, all of those exhibits I just went through have been admitted. All right. And I'm assuming the same is going to go for you, Attorney Olson. I can listen to them? Or did you want to
Yeah, I
play
was
any of them now?
I hadn't expected you to listen to all of them. I was going to cite to pertinent parts, but it's your call how you'd like to handle that. I would cite to the timestamps of what I think is relevant.
Well, if you have timestamps that you want me to jump to, that's fine.
Okay.
Otherwise, I intend on listening to them in their entirety. Everything that you've admitted. Same thing,
Okay.
all of your exhibits. I'm going to read each and every little word on each and every little sentence.
Okay.
It's just what I do. If it's relevant, it's relevant. I give it what weight it is. If it's not, then I look at the nice little pictures and keep moving on. All right. Where are we going now?
So I assume it goes back to me for redirect.
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Duchow-Cross, you wanted to clarify something on double dipping?
Yes, so there are times when you are actually allowed to double dip. For example, if you're out on PTO or you want to work, or if it's a holiday, so on and so forth. So there are times when double dipping is allowed, yes.
So with respect to when you would input your secondary code, did you have any control over how payroll would process that as how you would be paid?
No, I would send the date, the time, the times in and out and location to the admin. And they would enter the time and I don't know where it went from there.
Okay. All right. That's all I have. Thank you.
One thing I have not seen is we have a job description for Ms. Duchow-Cross as it comes to her coordinator position. Do we have a job description for a forensic nurse? Say nurse?
I did not receive one that I recall.
And I just want to clarify a few things. So originally when you started working this coordinator position, you were coordinator, but sometimes you would have to do activities as a sane nurse. Is that my correct understanding?
So my position did not require call time. However, when I came into the position, I needed to take that education and the training of both the adult, adolescent, as well as the pediatrics. And also to be able to do a same case if one came in during the day during my coordinating hours.
Okay. So your primary job is Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And you're the coordinator. You make contact with the world, you establish relationships, you do education, training, develop the plans and everything else that are in that job description. But occasionally somebody might come into the ER that necessitates a sane nurse. Is there somebody on staff during your work hours that does that?
During my work hours, it was the expectation that I do those, from my understanding, during the day of my coordinator hours.
Was that orally communicated with you by someone?
It was orally and also in one of the exhibits, which I believe was the effective immediately, when I believe that was dated March 30th. No, I don't remember what day it was, but it was a directive from Sherry Anderson.
Okay, so it was a later objective or something that was added, but was not in your original job description. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. My original, as a primary, it was administrative responsibility for the program, as well as, the administrative part, and outside community, oh my goodness, collaborations and
Okay.
relationship building.
So on the days when you get off work at 5 o'clock, you go home, you do whatever it is you're going to be doing at home or whatnot. Somebody calls you, and then now you're that on-call person to come in. Is it just you, or is there a bunch of other people that they could call?
At the time of my termination, I was the only up and independent forensic nurse for Burlington and Lakeland hospitals.
So what do you mean by up and independent? I don't understand what those terms mean.
Yeah. So at one point we had a couple of people in orientation, so they were in training, but they did not come off of training. And so I was the only nurse for Burlington and Lakeland that could complete a case.
Okay, so so when you say the term up and independent, that means you can hit the ground running, you know what you're supposed to do, the protocol, the procedures, and do all of that stuff.
Correct.
Okay,
And
so
which
you
is
were
why-
it.
Which is why it was during the day, during my coordinator hours.
Because you were it during your daytime job too. But you were supposed to. Did you punch in as a coordinator?
No, it
Because
was
you were salaried, right?
Correct.
Okay. So when you got called and you're in your office that somebody was coming into the ER, how did you just write it down somewhere that you now started talking to somebody? And then later in an email, you sent this information to somebody that you started a SANE call at this time?
I would, patients, officers, everybody had my personal cell phone number that was on my business card, so I could track what time that call came in on my cell phone.
Okay, but what I'm saying is, then what did you do? Let's say it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon on a Monday and there's a call. You're supposed to be playing coordinator, but you're
Correct.
it. So you now got to go do this. So what is it you're supposed to do? You have that call come in on your cell phone, so you note the time, and then
Correct.
sometime during that pay period, you're going to send an email saying, on this day, I started at this job at this time, and then I finished that job at this time.
Correct. And so originally I was told that, and the way I was trained is that if I was working my administrative, the coordinator role, that's salary. If in fact a case came in during my coordinating time, I am to punch out of the coordinator. And again, in a perfect world, if I would have had access, I would have punched out of my coordinator role into my clinical role to complete that case. However, was not given access to Kronos at that time, which I was following the directive, well, for the last 6 years, actually. I followed the directive for 6 years given to me by my managers that we would send an email with the date, the times in and out, and location to the admin person to enter.
Okay. All right. And there's no job description for a SANE nurse. Okay.
That I received, that I recall.
Okay, those were the only clarifying questions I had. Anything else from anybody?
Not by me.
Okay. All right. Any other witnesses? Attorney Olson.
No, the complainant rests.
All right. Attorney Kaiser.
Could we take a 5-minute break and then
We can take a break as long as you guys want. I am
5 minutes?
all yours at your mercy for the next several days. So
5 minutes. We'll
again, this
suppose.
isn't supposed to be painful. I realize it might be, but we're trying not to make it so. Oh, look, sugar's in the green. We're good.
Nice.
Starts going off in the red, and then that's not good. All right. Let's see, what time is it? It's 2:53. Let's come back at 3 o'clock.
All right, great.
All right. Thank you, everyone.